And thank you for joining us, friends, on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. If you have questions, comments, success stories, if you want to share how you're dealing with this craziness, COVID craziness that we're dealing with, love to hear what you're doing if you're in quarantine. 844-236-6010. If you're in quarantine, what are you doing to stay sane? Are you supplementing? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you exercising? Are you depressed? Are you journaling? Journaling is a great strategy, by the way. 844-236-6010 is our number. Got Beverly Zimet coming up at the bottom of the hour. She's an author and a speaker and the founder of the Identity Revelation Network. And she's got some very inspiring things to say. I've known Bev for a long time, and I was listening to her on her Facebook, doing a Facebook post, a Facebook video, and I was like, we got to get Bev on, because I am all about being inspirational in this crazy, crazy time. I was just reading this article this morning. Israeli police use drones to check in on virus patients, to check in. How you doing? Oh, is everything okay? Do you need anything? No, that's not what the drones are doing. The drones are there to make sure that you're not violating your quarantine. It's like Minority Report, if you've ever seen that movie. This is what we're dealing with here. They also have phone spying technology to track patients for the virus. Capital T, capital V. The virus. I'm doing air quotes here. This is absolute insanity, but it's kind of interesting to watch in a kind of watching a car wreck kind of way, historically, from a historical perspective. I didn't think I could be surprised, but that kind of surprised me. The drones, they have temperature sensing robots, and now you have to wear a mask when you go out in New York City, and you have to wear a mask when you go into different stores. You have to wear a mask in New York City now, I heard, New York State, according to Governor Cuomo. There's all of this stuff that's going on, immunity papers, and all of this stuff is going on. But here's the thing. There's kind of like a divide that I seem to be noticing. And I'm sure you guys see this divide. Maybe it's just me. There's people who are waking up to, there seems to be something that's not quite right here. They're waking up to the inherently dishonest nature of government. It's just how government is. It's inherently dishonest. It has never been honest. I don't know if it ever will be honest. Maybe until we're honest, it won't be honest. But people are waking up to this, and they're waking up to the corporatocracy, big medicine, large multinational corporations. People are waking up to who are the winners in this coming surveillance technocracy that we're in, I would say. I'm not going to say we're about to enter. I say we're in it. And people are waking up to lackeys, the media. There are people who are beginning to, what I've been saying for years, for decades, beginning to critically think, be a scientist, to think and decide for themselves. There are people who are waking up to this idea that they have to do it because they're being lied to. They resent it, and they resent being told what to do. And I was just reading about Michigan yesterday. People are freaking out about being stuck in the house, and people are looking around and they don't see everybody dropping dead. And I've been trying to lay low here. I've been trying to, not say too much here, but something that's not right here. Just use common sense. Dr. Birx, the COVID response coordinator, says liberal interpretation, this is her word, quote, liberal interpretation of what a COVID death is on the death certificate. Why are a third of the world put on house arrest for this stuff? So the problem is that, there's a divide. And the problem is that while there's some people who are waking up, there are some people that actually like the government to do things. They want to have vaccines. They want to have enforcement of rules, and they want the government to do things to take care of them. And that's, there are people who believe the news, who watch the news. There are people who actually believe that the news is true. And they make all their decisions, or they form their beliefs based on what they see on the news. And that's the other side of the divide. This is the divide between people who smell a rat and people who are just buying it. And not only buying it, but they're buying the need for protection. They're buying the need to give up their freedoms and liberties for protection. And there's always been that divide, but now it's becoming more and more clear because the internet kind of is a divider. It's dividing the people who smell a rat from the people who don't. And it's really there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of evidence that this is kind of baloney, and there's a lot of evidence that this is not baloney, that this is real. There's a lot of that evidence. Now, the evidence could be doctored. The evidence might not be real. And I, as a chemist and as a biologist, some of you study chemistry and biology, it doesn't sound real to me. Nonetheless, you can have so-called evidence and facts, alternative facts, as has been said, to support either point of view. What you have to do, what we all have to do, what I have to do, everybody has to do, is we have to use our spidey sense, our sixth sense, our intuition about what's happening. We have an immune system, you know. How about we strengthen the immune system? Well, how about we say, forget the quarantine, we're just not going to eat McDonald's anymore. We're not going to drink Coca-Cola, and we're going to give everybody vitamin C, and we're going to have good food, and we're going to get rid of the glyphosate and the GMO, and we're going to clean up the air, and we're going to take the crap out of the water. How about if we have a war on our nasty environment and atmosphere and how we live? How about if we have a war on that? How about if we have a war on fast food? That's the kind of war we need. The immune system is so amazing, people, but because we don't understand the body, because we don't understand chemistry, because we don't understand how miraculous we are, we think we're weak. We are not weak. The immune system is a classic example of how unbelievably powerful we are. The immune system is ridiculous. Oh, my God. So just real briefly, I'm not going to dive into it because it is so complicated and so tightly organized and structured and architected and choreographed. It's just amazingly regulated and controlled. So I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But just basically speaking, the immune system has an ability to sense an enemy and then protect against that enemy in multiple ways. It actually can protect against that enemy with explosions, or it can actually protect against the enemy with heat-seeking missiles. Either massive explosions or heat-seeking missiles. And these heat-seeking missiles are custom designed for specific viruses, specific microbes, specific bacteria, specific everything. They're specifically designed for specific antigens or enemies. We'll talk about that when we come back from our break. 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be back on the bright side right after this. All right, we're back on the bright side. Bev Zymet coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk a little inspiration. And if you are dealing with, if you have a creative way that you're dealing with all this stuff, I'd love to hear from you. 844-236-6010. Of course, if you have questions about supplements or health challenges or our Truth Skin Health products or skin health issues, or just a comment or a success story you'd like to share, 844-236-6010. Is our number on the bright side if you want to purchase longevity products. And by the way, now is a perfect time to start a longevity business in addition to purchasing products. And if you want to just purchase products for yourself for a one-time $30 fee, you can get the wholesale price just for yourself, or you can start a business. And now is the time to do it, people. This is a golden opportunity. Crisis equals opportunity. Yeah, there's all kinds of crapola that's going on. But you know what? Human beings are generative, or have the potential to be generative anyway. We can generate solutions. We can be creative. Crisis equals opportunity, and the bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. And because this is a big crisis, it's also a big opportunity to take control of your life from a health perspective. Because if we all took care of ourselves from a health perspective, we wouldn't be dealing with this nonsense. It's because we don't take care of ourselves from a health perspective as well as a wealth perspective. We wouldn't be dealing with all of this stuff. This is a health and wealth crisis, and longevity is a health and wealth business that's designed to thrive when everything else is in crisis. It's perfect. Call 866-735-2470 for more info on that. Or head to brightsideben.com. pharmacistben.com or criticalhealthnews.com. So the whole idea of being generative and being creative, it highlights the fact that human beings can handle things. We can handle things mentally, we just got to know how to do it. And our body can handle things physically, we just have to know how to help it, support it. But we don't understand the body, we don't understand the immune system. The immune system is incredibly complex, but just to simplify it, antibodies, the things you hear about all the time, and you've got two kinds of cells. You have white blood cells that are divided into two classes. Okay, white blood cells are your immune cells, and they're divided into two classes. I'm definitely not going to get complex about this. Just think white blood cells, and they're divided into T cells and B cells. I'm not even going to talk about the T cells. The B cells make antibodies. B cells are made in the bone, so they call them bone cells. Oh, this whole thing starts in the bone marrow, by the way. So B cells are made in the bone marrow, and these B cells that are made in the bone marrow, they're called B lymphocytes sometimes. I call them the killer bees. They secrete missiles. Yes, missiles. Chemical missiles that are specific for specific viruses, specific bacteria, specific everything. These bacteria, these germs, these microbes, these yeast have signals on them, and these signals are sensed by the B cells, and they make targeted missiles. They're called antibodies. Antibodies are missiles, and they use antibodies to detect whether an infection happened, because if you have antibodies to something, that means you were infected at one time or another. But you can't say when, because these antibodies are permanent, or the cells that make the antibodies are permanent. They call them memory cells. They remember. So if they've been out once, the next time you get invaded, they remember. They don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of making brand new missiles. They've got a storehouse of missiles, or at least blueprints for missiles. This stuff's amazing. This is absolutely mind-blowingly amazing, but you got to dig deep. You got to get down into the tiniest of levels. And even if you don't want to do all that, and I just happen to like doing it, and some of you do too, I know. Even if you don't want to do that, just know it's so cool. It's so miraculous. It's so amazing. The idea that we need to be doctored or medicalized back to health, that we need a medical model to take care of us, which is now, the concept has now ballooned to grotesque proportions. The medical model has become this monster at this point. That's what it is right now. It's a monster. Think of how it's ruling your life, the medical model. Even if you have nothing to do with it, it's still ruling your life. The masks, really? 6 feet. Are you going to tell me that it's the so-called airborne virus stops at 6 feet? Really? You're going to tell me that it's not going to go through a bandana? Really? Come on. I mean, there's so much craziness that we're being told by the medical model, but because we deify it, we lionize it, we worship it, it is locked in, and this is going to permanently entrench it for generations, if we allow it, and it seems like we are. All right, 844-236-6010, got Bev Zymet coming up at the bottom of the hour. Elaine, my friend Elaine, what's going on in Alaska?
Hey, thank you so much for getting me on the air, and I just had a couple things I wanted to talk about, if I have time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, in this time, it's like you have one of two choices. You can either ride the wave of creativity, or you can sink in a sea of chaos.
I love it. That's true.
So,
creativity is like organizing the chaos somehow.
Right. So I have created, it's like, okay, what can I do for my patients, my clients, my students, because I can't teach exercise classes. I can't see a whole lot of clients unless they're urgent. I try to keep them out of the urgent care. So I created a platform for $25 a month. You can get exercise videos from a physical therapist with 20 years experience. I've learned over the years what can put people in trouble. So
give your website. What's your website?
Website is barefootwellness.com, and that's like the animal, B-E-A.
Barefoot. Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Barefootwellness.com. So that is there for people, to connect.
That's great. And Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And I can do telehealth with the clients and give them exercises by becoming a super giver. So that's $25 a month. And people have just been so responsive, and they just want to give and they want to help. So that's awesome. It's been, and it gets you out of a rut. You start.
You're doing something now. You're doing something there.
Yep,
You're doing something, and you're helping other people do something. It's a win-win. Both you guys are both sides are benefiting. That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, and an interview idea. Have you heard of Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai?
Is he the guy running for senator?
Yeah.
In Minnesota?
Have you listened to him?
You know, he's got all these MIT degrees in email, but he's so angry. Oh, my goodness.
No. Well, I don't know what
I listen to him a lot. It's hard to listen to him. And he says, here's the thing, Elaine. The scam of this whole thing is so clear. It's not even questioned at this point. And by scam, I mean the fact that everybody's in lockstep. I'm not saying like I know the answers here, but I'm just saying that the fact that everybody's in lockstep without being scientifically rigorous, without being a scientist and examining all the evidence and seeing, just being clear-headed about it, the fact that everybody's in lockstep, that's where the scam comes in. The scam isn't that they're telling you this. Scam comes in that everybody's in lockstep and there's no questioning. The media's not questioning, the big medicine's not questioning, and the government's not questioning. They're all saying the same thing. That's the scam of it. Yeah. So I don't need to be told about Bill Gates and Hillary Clinton and vaccines, and I understand. I see all that stuff happening. And that's what he's focusing on, and maybe people need to hear it, and I'm not saying that they don't. But to me, I want to be solutions-oriented. Crisis equals opportunity. Yeah. How can we use this? What you're saying, how you're taking advantage of this to become creative, to become a creative problem solver, which is what makes us human. Our ability to solve problems to the degree that we can solve problems is the quintessential human quality. To run in fear is a reptilian quality. It's not a neocortical property. It's not something you do when you're advanced. And that's what you're doing is something you do when you're advanced. Hey, I got a guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. Thanks so much, Elaine. I appreciate talking to you.
I love your retinol gel.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. All right, I'm pharmacist Ben. Bev Zymet coming up next segment. You're listening to The Bright Side. Okay, we're back on The Bright Side, and thank you for being here. We've got Bev Zymet coming up, best-selling author, speaker, and founder of the Identity Revelation Network, and a friend of mine. We'll talk to her in just a moment. Please check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for all the longevity products, and now is the time to sign up and start a longevity business. There's no better. It's always a good time to start your own business, in my humble opinion. But now is an amazing time with the health business blowing up. Longevity checks have been going up a lot, and you're not on the ground floor, but you're going to be on the first floor. The ground floor is already gone, and don't miss the first floor. That's where all the big income is generated at the lower levels. So give us a call at 866-735-2470. Tell them you want to join the Brightside Ben team, and then also you can head to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for all the longevity products, as well as news, stories, blog posts, and videos, and lots of good health information. brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com. Okay, so we are going to talk to my friend Bev, best-selling author, speaker, founder of the Identity Revelation Network, all-around great human being, psychic, homeopath, all kinds of credentials here, and the host of the Beverly Zymet Show, which I will be on at 10 o'clock today, I'm happy to say. Being the best you can be. Now's a time when we really have to, this is an opportunity, actually, for us to really be the best we can be. Hey, Bev, good to talk to you.
Hey, good morning, Ben.
Thank you. I was so surprised, and pleasantly so, when I was just looking at Facebook, and there you were with the Bev Zymet Show. How amazing.
So good to hear from you.
Yeah, I hadn't seen you in, I don't even know, probably 10, 12 years. It seems like that I haven't seen you. When I started with, I think it was when I started with Dr. Wallach, was that in the 90s when I first met you? Or was it later
I was
already?
trying to think too how far back it was, and I believe it was in the 90s.
Isn't that crazy, Beverly?
Yeah.
Beverly,
yeah.
Where does time go? So being the best you can be now is a great opportunity to practice being the best you could be. I have this guy, Daniel Brinkley. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He says, you can't be a great... You know who Daniel Brinkley is? He says...
Oh, yeah.
He's great, isn't he? Daniel Brinkley, for the listeners, has survived 3 death experiences, and he says, what are you going to do, kill me? Every time. He's so funny. So he says you can't learn to be a great sea captain by sailing on calm seas. Right? And that's kind of, now we get to be great sea captains. Now we get to really dig deep and see what we have. So tell us about being the best you could be and how we can use that wisdom in this kind of crazy, chaotic, and historic time and exciting time period.
That is such a great question. I mean, when we look at being in your comfort zone, we all have that comfort zone that we want to stay in because we don't like changes. Well, all of a sudden, that was kind of totally erupted. You know what I mean? It just boom.
We didn't even get to say goodbye. We didn't get to say goodbye. Bev?
Say that again.
I said we didn't even get to say goodbye to the old way. It just is gone. It's like grief.
It's just, boom.
Yeah. And
so what do? All of a sudden, here change was. You talk about forced change. Oh my gosh, there was no option. Change is going to happen whether you wanted to or not. Boom, it did. So it's becoming resourceful. It's about getting creative and using that brain that a lot of us put on hold because we like being in that comfort zone. No matter how miserable it is, it's predictable. Well, life is not predictable, and we really had a high dose of that, I think, with this whole coronavirus thing and being socially distanced and everything like that. Is like, what are you going to do about that? You can jump into the fear, or you can just sit in wonderment, or you can say, hey, how can I better myself? And this should be a question you should ask every day anyways. How can I become a better me? How can I become a healthier me? How can I become a wealthier me? How can I have better relationships? Because now we're really forced into open relationships because we're in a confined compartment area with family, with maybe your kids. We're finding things out about partners and children that we didn't know before because we're spending 24/7 with them.
What if you find out you hate them? What if you find out
Pardon
you
me?
hate them? What if you find out you hate them?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess you're going to have to just suffer it out until they can let you loose, right?
I think I've talked to a couple of people who found that out. They're not happy about it at all. But no, your point, it's a really good point, is that there's all kinds of things that we have. There's all kinds of skill sets we have. There's all kinds of abilities we have just by being being human. And we don't tap into those because, well, we're scared, or I don't know. Why don't we normally tap into those? Why are we afraid to tap into those?
Great question. I think it is because then we might have to change, and we kind of like have this composure that we want to be what we think everybody else wants us to be, instead of really being an expression of our true self. And being separated and segmented like this gives us an opportunity to say, who is the real me? And how do you find that? By finding out, and really facing the things that you don't want to be. What are your assets? Take a piece of paper or type it out, whatever it is, but put it down. Get it out of your head. What are your assets? And what is your purpose in life? What is your why? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What's the impression you want to leave? What's your legacy? All of these things are going to help you to discover who you really are and who you really aren't.
So like inquiry, like asking these questions, those are big questions, like who do I want to be? What are my assets? What is my purpose? What is my why? Why am I here? These are huge questions. That requires calories. That requires energy. That requires, what I'm saying? It requires work, and human beings don't like to work. And if there's any reason why they don't have to work, this is just a human thing. We're the descendants of ancestors who survived by working as little as possible, by holding on to their calories as much as possible. And so we're hardwired to do that. It takes a certain amount of push or incentive. It's like, you got to have your back against the wall kind of thing before you really go into that. And some people don't even do it at that point.
Right.
Have you heard of this thing, learned helplessness?
I'm not quite that phrase, but some similar things.
You know what I'm talking about. We learn to be helpless, and that's really what things like this take advantage of. Is learned helplessness and our sense of frustration. So it takes effort. Bev, how do you get off the couch? How do you do it? What's your trick for that? I mean, it's all well and good to say journal and assets and test your assets and what's my purpose and what's my why. But how do you get off the couch to do that? Because it's not in our nature to want to expend extra calories.
Well, okay, so when you look at it from that perspective, right, burning the extra calories or whatever, and there's a greater percentage out there that could really burn extra calories, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Again,
Good point.
I think it's the mental thing, the mindset, right? And it's also passing the buck. We don't want to be responsible for ourselves, right? So we put responsibility on others. It's your fault that I'm this way, which is in denial of our identity, because our identities become personal traits because they're habits, right?
Identity
and
is a really
responding.
Bev, that's an awesome word. One of my all-time favorite words, by the way, is identity. It is so packed with meaning and implication for how we live our lives. It really deserves a deep dive. We got to take a break, but let's as soon as we come back, let's talk about identity and then also the Identity Revelation Network. I want to hear about that. Bev Zymet, you're listening to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back after this. Okay, we're back on The Bright Side talking to Bev Zymet, best-selling author and speaker and founder of the very intriguingly named Identity Revelation Network, as in revealing identity. That really got my attention because I love the concept of identity. What we identify as plays such a role in how our life shows up, right?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I mean, sometimes we identify ourselves and other people identify ourselves through association, meaning that you're so-and-so's wife, you're so-and-so's husband, you're the mother of so-and-so, your kids, you're the person that writes for the newspaper, you're the one that, does that Facebook show, you're the one that, right? So it's all by association. But what about you? What about your identity? And what started this for me was I had completely lost my identity when people couldn't even say my name, right? And they would say, yeah, I know you're so-and-so's, or you this, or you, and it's like, wait a minute. And I would stop them and I would say, no, my name is Beverly, right? And they would look at you like deer in the head, like what? Right?
No, that's not your name. That can't be. Are you sure? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, and I make it a point when I talk with people is to call them by their names, right? And not by, the pharmacist guy, right? No, this is Ben.
All right, that's not my identity. I'm not the pharmacist guy. I hate it when they call me Pharmacist Ben. But so here's a great question for you. You ready, Bev?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Who are you?
Well, I'm this high-spirited person who likes to be an expression of love and caring, and someone who can show you how you can focus on your direction. Because if you don't know where you're going, how are people going to know where you're going?
Love it.
What is your belief? You start living your belief system and your truth. And a lot of people can't handle that.
Yeah. It's like I am. After you say those two words, I am, you better be very, very careful. Like I am depressed, I am sick, I am a survivor, all of this stuff where you identify as somebody who's sick or identify as somebody who has a problem. It's funny because our medical model encourages that with the concept of diagnosis. We become our diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
I am a diabetic. What? Bite your tongue. What are you talking about? You are healthy.
You lay claim to the stuff, and once you have claim, right, it's like you don't want to give it up. It's mine. No, you can't have it. Well, we're supposed to share. Well, crap on that. And this is why it's easy to associate, to identify with association, right, and really mess you up,
Here's another thing. I'm sorry. Here's another thing. It takes work to do this. Association's easy. I'm a pharmacist, so that's all I do, right? But if I'm going to actually have an identity that is more personal to me, I've got to carve it out. I've got to flesh it out a little bit. I got to decide what it has to be. That takes effort. And I wonder where fear of failure comes into all this stuff too. By the way.
I don't think it's as much the fear of failure as it's the fear of people aren't going to like me. Right? Let me share this little analogy with you, and I share this a lot with my clients, is, okay, who is the real you? So you're somebody different when you're at home with your family. You're different when you're with your siblings, shall we say. You're different when you're at work. You're different when you're on vacation.
Yeah, that's good.
So here's 4 different people. Well, all of a sudden you get this invitation in the mail that says, come to the party. So you go to the party, you knock on the door, you open up, you're invited in, and now you see people from each one of those arenas. Who are you going to be? You're
that
going
reminds
to be
me.
sick and run is what you're going to do.
Probably, yeah. That reminds me of an interview I heard with Jim Carrey once, and he talked about how freaky it was for him and how disorienting it was for him to have to play different characters all the time. Like to really have to own these different characters. And I got to thinking, I wonder if that's why people who act are like a little bit kind of off sometimes, is because they don't have a sense of identity. They don't have a sense of who they are. They've got multiple identities and, multiple personality syndrome, like a dramatic case of that. But we all have it to a certain degree, as you point out. You're different with your mother than you are with your wife or your husband, right? You're different with your boss than you are with your kids. And it's funny, Gurdjieff said that. I don't know if you know who he is. He was a philosopher from the early 20th century. He said that people have multiple eyes, like the letter I. We all have all kinds of eyes in our head, and each eye, it's like each situation has an eye. Every little experience you have, it has its own eye, and we freak out when there's dissonance there. But that's normal, is that there would be dissonance and compartmentalization in that. So, is there a unified underneath all that? Is there one identity? Do you think? Or is it always going to be different?
No, I believe there is one identity, because when you can just be you, it's like you become vulnerable. You're open to the world. This is me. If you don't like me, you can walk away, right? So I don't want to be an impersonator. I don't want to be something that I'm not. Yes, can I be obnoxious? Okay, I'm first admitted I can, right? But I'm also very caring and very loving, and I say it like it is. I don't buffer things. If I see something that is not quite running into my belief system, it's like I honor your belief system, and it's open lines of communication. Be able to really open your lines of communication. Say what you think, say what you feel, not deliberately trying to hurt that other person, but just saying, what if? Let's change the perspective. What if it could have been like this? Or what if we change it like that? Have you ever tried something like this? And to be open to suggestions.
Well, if you're always open, then you're always refining yourself. You're always getting better. You're always evolving somehow. And that's one of the things that happens as we get older. We get locked into our identity. We're no longer open. We are who we are. That's why old people can be so frustrating sometimes. Is they are who they are. They're not. And that's why old people can be young. You ever meet an old person who's young because they're open and their identity is flexible and they're willing to incorporate new perspectives into an old identity, and they seem really youthful to you, no matter what their age is.
Right. And I think that's a key, something you tapped in on there, right? Is like we don't have to be what we think we were to accomplish what we did, because it's always new. There's so much out there, so much adventure, so much newness. Why would you want to get stuck? It's like the old database. The old database is your habits and things that happen. But when you get new information into your database, you've got to be able to push out the old stuff and bring in the new, and that changes how you build your personality and how you create who you are. It's just like in my mindset. For me, my belief is that I am 45. It's like I had the world, by the tail at 45. And so I believe consistently that is who I am, is at that 45. My body remains vibrant at 45. I respond. I'm energetic. My birth years say that I'm 70. Are you kidding me? No, that's a number, right? That's a number we associate with being on the planet. Well, you know what? That's okay, fine, and dandy. But that's not who I am.
That's not who you identify.
My belief is, again, that mindset is 45, and I stay there, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you ever look in the mirror and say, who the heck is that person anyway?
Every day I look in there and say, hey, good morning, you, myself, and I. What are you going to do to be the best you that you can be today? You know what? Today, I get to talk to Mr. Ben Fuchs. Wow.
That's awesome. Twice. You get to talk to me twice.
Twice.
We're going to talk in 5 more minutes, and then you're going to ask me questions. All right. Well, it's great to talk to you, Bevan. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing. That really is awesome, and I'm glad I got back in touch with you. And that's really something that we can all be doing. We can be inspiring each other. We can be like talking each other up. We can be each other's motivational speakers. You've really taken that on. I mean, in a big way. But we can all do it for each other. We can all help each other through this thing. And in fact, if we all do, the culture will be better for it.
Oh my gosh, Ben, I don't know if people realize this, and you can test this on yourself, is when you stay happy and excited and adventurous, it takes a whole lot less energy than it does to stay in depression, to stay angry, to stay frustrated and upset. Feel what your body does in both of those, arenas. Yeah. And it's like, well, what side of the fence are you going to be on? You could, if you're happy, that's where you are. If you're angry, that's where you are. You can't have both at the same time. What side of the fence do you want to be on? That's awesome. Your choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. In biology, there's a fundamental primal distinction between expansion and contraction. All life forms expand when they're happy and satisfied and content and peaceful and safe, and they contract when they're in fear. So what you're talking about is basically that. Expand, be outward, push outward against your life rather than shrinking and contracting. Bev, you're awesome. So I'm looking forward to our Zoom call here in a few minutes, and I'll be on that link. And thanks so much for being on the bright side. Appreciate it. Best of luck. That's Bev Zimet.
Thank you.
Yes. Nice to talk to you. All right. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. Don't forget to check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for the longevity products and Truth Skin Health products at truthtreatments.com, truthtreatments.com. Have yourselves a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.